All right, so basically, I just want to ask you some couple questions regarding just you, your huge social media presence, huge personality. People know you. Um, introduce yourself to the world as I'm going to be posting this out to everywhere. So,
nice to meet you. I'm Shivam, aka Notshivam. I joined the hobby back into the hobby summer of 2019. And, ever since I've just been, grinding it out as far as my collection goes. I started out just buying binders, honestly. I just bought a lot of binder collections in the beginning. I used to gut them out and then sell them. And then after that, early on, like in the very beginning, my first ever booster box that I actually ever bought was a Burning Shadows booster box, and I pulled the Hyper Rare Charizard towards the very end.
I still have not pulled that one.
It was like one of those things where it's like, I was in this place where I was like, the only thing I really did was work and work out.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really needed a hobby. I needed something to occupy my time more.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? If I pull the card out of this box, I'm going to start doing content creating.
Yeah.
And so, as I'm going through the box, I was like, well, looks like I'm not going to be doing Pokemon, and it's such a silly thought, like why should I have let that one box dictate what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
But, second to last pack I pulled it, and I was like, awesome. So then I started grading my own cards from the very jump. And, I joined like a very, very small Pokemon Discord, and no one was really grading their cards, and I started grading my own cards. And people saw that, and so they wanted me to grade their cards, and I was like, sure, why not? And so I started taking like a very, very small fee just to pay for supplies and stuff like that, just to be able to get their cards graded.
Yeah.
And as that grew, so did my social media presence as well.
Yeah.
And for some reason, at that time, back in 2019, you could buy high-end chase cards, like first edition holographic Dark Charizards, first edition Neo Genesis Lugias, like a bunch of chase cards for within the $100 to $200 range.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, why is this so affordable?
Yeah.
And why is this the same price as a booster box? Like, why are people buying, like, and at that time, Hidden Fates had just dropped.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, I mean, I did go crazy over Hidden Fates. Like, I probably spent about $700 in Hidden Fates at that time on ETBs. But, it's one of those things where it's like, why are people going so crazy on Hidden Fates when at the time ETBs were going for like $50 a pop? And I was like, well, I could buy a first edition holographic Dark Charizard for the same price as 2 Hidden Fates ETBs.
Yeah.
And so I took it as an opportunity to be able to buy back my own childhood rather than buying the newer stuff. Because, like, for me as a collector, the older stuff just resonated with me more.
Yeah. Because it was more nostalgic, or just because you liked it more?
Both. It was just it's just one of those things. It's like I can't really connect with
the newer stuff as well.
The newer stuff, like, the artwork's great and all. Like, there's a lot of new stuff that has really fantastic artwork.
Yeah.
But when I go back and I see, like, even common cards from, like, let's say Jungle or Base Set,
or
even
they hit so much better. Yeah.
Yeah, it just hits me, and so, like, I was just like, when I do something, I go at it wholeheartedly. I hit it with everything that I have. And so, like, I was going around flea markets and stuff, and if I could buy vintage cards, which to me were like this myth. Like, I didn't know where to find vintage cards for like a good steal of a price, and I just didn't know where to find it because, like, I was still relatively new to the hobby, and so, like, I was still looking and stuff. So, like, if I found like a Team Rocket Eevee card, I was so hyped. I kept that in my pool for like a long time.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's one of those things where at that time everything was so underpriced.
Yeah.
And PSA 10s were going for $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's still a drop in the bucket compared to what people are spending today as far as Pokemon goes.
That's true. That Charizard you had pulled from that Burning Shadow, you graded it now, I'm guessing. What did it come up to?
Yeah. So I graded it, and it came back as a PSA 8. It was a part of my collection for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So it's one of those instances where, like, just because you pull a pack first card doesn't mean it's going to get a 10. Yeah. And Burning Shadows was one of the more difficult sets to actually get your cards graded.
Yeah.
And so I actually had that card in my collection all the way up to the fall of last year. And it's one of those things where, like, I wanted to keep it for as long as possible, but I ended up trading it along with 10 other cards to get my first edition Shadowless Charizard PSA 8.
I saw that video. How was that? How was that experience? I knew you had to travel to Texas, I think it was. Or
I flew to Texas, got it. It was a really, really intense moment for me because I've never done it. I mean, some people call it a transaction. I call it a trade.
Yeah.
At that time, between that card and my 11 cards, the value was roughly between $70,000 to $80,000 in just one spot, and I was like, man, this is intense. Like, I've never done anything like that. Like, the most, like, I've done sales in the 4 figures.
Yeah.
You know, I've sold booster boxes at $3,000. I sold booster boxes at $2,000. I sold cards from anywhere between, you know, $1 all the way up to thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, that was a big moment for me, and it was one of those things where all 11 of those cards were very, very difficult for me to acquire at those instances, because like I wasn't spending as much money as I am today on Pokemon.
Yeah.
Granted, like my hobby pays for itself now.
Yeah.
Of course. Which is a good thing. Which is what most collectors would like to have, like having your own hobby pay for itself. You know, it was tough. So like I had to seek out help. Well, not really help, just advice. And I reached out to Charizard King.
Oh, for the trade, you wanted advice for the trade?
Yeah, I wanted advice for the trade. I got it from Charizard King, Gary from Pawn Stars, Rhyme Style. They were like, dude, this is your opportunity to be able to get this. And I'm like, yeah, but like the artwork, one of my goals for 2020 was to be able to have every single artwork of Charizard from 1995 all the way up to Skyridge.
Wow.
And so I had. Obviously, I didn't have the Japanese base at Charizard, but that would have been relatively easy to get, you know, and then being able to get, you know, outside of Japanese stuff, outside of the TCG portion Japanese stuff, so like I'm talking about Top Sun would have been included on this list, Cardis would have been included on this list. That would have been relatively easy for me to acquire, because I did have it already.
Yeah.
Base set, I had a PSA 9 Unlimited, I had a first edition PSA 10 holographic Dark Charizard, and then I had a PSA 8 of the same card. I had a first edition PSA 9 Blaine's Charizard, and then I still have my PSA 10 Unlimited Shiny Charizard from Yet Destiny. So the only one I really needed to complete the WotC portion was my Skyreach portion. So like I really wanted to get that, but at that point I was like, you know what, this opportunity probably won't really bring itself. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Yeah. And it was actually one of the best decisions I ever made. Yeah. When I look at that card, it sort of encapsulates all the hard work I did the entire year and a half. That one card, like I know what it took to get it. I know what cards that it took to get that, and so like it was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, how was that traveling with like all those cards in that little suitcase? Like, were you scared to you're gonna lose something? Did you have to hold it in your lap? Did you put it in the storage?
So I had it in. I actually had it in this lunchbox, which is funny because I just wanted to do it as a joke. So I had it in this lunchbox, and I had it in my actual backpack. So I just carried it with me. It was a straight trip there and back. So I didn't stay there too long. As soon as I did the trade, I flew right back home.
Wow. So it wasn't a scary moment. Did you ever feel like you had so much money in your bag?
Yes and no. It was one of those things where it's like I gotta make sure this is on me at all times, kind of thing, and that's really it.
Yeah, of course. Now, speaking of your whole collection, everyone always sees behind you or in your videos, you have as you can see, I can see your whole collection, your Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
How long did it actually take you to collect all those things, and what was your first item? You're like, okay, you know what? I bought this. My home room is gonna be full of Pokemon. It's gonna be full of this, and this. Like, how'd that all come into fruition?
So I attribute my collecting style to Real Breaking Nate for the most part. He's a good friend of mine. He's a big influence on how I collect non-TCG stuff.
For so many Pokemon trainers or people coming into the Pokemon, they see you, they see Nate, they see Alex, they see so many people, and they inspire to be like you. And even my own case, so when I first started, it was I see you guys, and I was like, oh my god. So that's why I say it's a privilege to talk to you as well. And
no, dude, I'm just another guy. But when it came to that, Nate knows this now too. But essentially, like I took his way of collecting and sort of made it my own, right? I'm not one of those types of people that emulates anyone. I like being able to be my own type of person, and I want my collection to reflect who I am. So the first thing I ever got was when I was watching, Real Breaking Nate's older videos before he moved to his house. He had a small little studio. In the background, I saw the cereal box, and excuse me, I saw the cereal box and the factory sealed cereal box. I'm like, man, that is so cool. Yeah. And so I took it like it was the cereal box right here, the 2000 one right over here.
Yeah.
That, along with a factory sealed Pokedex from Tiger Electronics Hasbro, was the first 2 items I ever bought. Those are the first things. Like, if I go back on my eBay, as far as Pokemon goes, those are the first 2 things I bought. Like, this was before Pokemon cards. So like, I bought these 2 before actual Pokemon cards.
Before you bought that Burning Shadows booster box, that was pretty much your first thing, as you said.
Yeah. As far as cards go, that was my first thing as far as the card purchase goes.
Okay.
And so, I took it upon myself. I think after that, I just started slowly filling up this, as it goes with like Pokemon food items and stuff like that. And I started collecting right from the jump. I was like, you know what? I love vintage Pokemon toys. I like the colors. I like how derpy some of them look. It was worth it. Yeah. So early on, I started buying rare vintage Pokemon toys, and no one else was doing that on social media. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I was like, this is such a big portion of Pokemon. Like cards don't necessarily define Pokemon. Pokemon is so much more than cards. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna collect Pokemon food. I'm gonna collect obscure Pokemon items. I'm gonna collect Pokemon toys. And throughout my research, I went back to an old forum. It's called LiveJournal. Mm-hmm. And this was before Instagram was a thing. And so the way the Pokemon community was able to display their collections and show off their collections to other community members was through LiveJournal. And it was one of those things where like Pokemon toy collecting and figure collecting was such a big thing in these forums. I'm like, why is that not a big thing today? Yeah. So I took it upon myself to, sort of do that. I wanted to be the representative of vintage Pokemon toys, so that's why I did that. And that's sort of how my following grew, because I was showing very, very obscure things outside of cards. Like, anyone could show Pokemon cards, right? Yeah. Anyone could show that. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and show something different.
Yeah, you want to stand out a bit. You want to show, like, something different from everyone else's. You want to be that guy who has the old stuff, but also the new stuff. You want to be standing out in your own way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, you go on social media right now as far as Pokemon goes, and you're scrolling through your feed, and all you really see is Pokemon cards, and then when you see something completely different, you're like, oh, wow, what is this?
Yeah, of course.
And so, early on, my stuff was getting explore pages, and I think at that point, I started fostering friendships with a lot bigger content creators. Yeah. I mean, you have Jordan Fringe, really, so he's like a brother to me, he's such a good friend. Mm-hmm. Nate, early on, he's one of the very first few people to, sort of talk to me, give me advice. Rhymestop, like a lot of the people that you see today are people that I talked to. And then in the fall of 2020, I started producing TikToks. I didn't take it too seriously. I kind of regret not taking it too seriously in that very, very beginning portion. And myself and Alex, we became really, really great friends at that time. We met together in Lootbox's Discord. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I talked to Lootbox pretty often too at that time. And myself and Alex were the only 2 people making TikToks that were posting it on Lootbox's Instagram portion, Instagram channel, because there was no channel for TikTok. So it's only us 2. And we just created this really, really great and amazing friendship through that one moment. And sometime in April, actually last month was like the first year, like a full year anniversary of our, first initial collab with multiple Pokemon content creators. Yeah. In April of last year, me and Alex were like, we want to change how Pokemon TikTok is being done. We want to change how things are being done. Yeah. And that means like we don't want to show cards, right? We don't want to show pack openings because that's so played. So we were like, let's do this trend called Pass Whatever trend, where we saw other content creators do like Pass the Soap challenge in the beginning of quarantine. So we were like, I was like, Alex, what if we did a Pass the Slab challenge? Mm-hmm. And so myself and Alex were like, whoa, that's such a great idea. And so myself, Alex, we created this group chat with Edith and Evie, Pokemon Pelago, Pray for Our Sins, aka Senpai, PokeRev, Lootbox, Omosh, Fur24, and I think that's it. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. But we did that. Oh, and Bulbasaur. And so we did that. Yeah. And it was a hit for us. Like, we were like, man, this is so cool. And we showed that to the Pokemon community on Instagram, because at that time, on TikTok, the Pokemon community was almost non-existent. Yeah. It was not there. Yeah. Even in 2019, the Pokemon community was non-existent. The only people that were really posting was very few people. Like, you have obviously Alex, but even before Alex, you had Nate. Nate and Jordan French were probably the first two people on TikTok as far as Pokemon content creating goes. And it's an amazing thing to see what it is now. Yeah. But it was such a big thing for the Pokemon community here on Instagram, because Instagram's like the core community. That's where it's at. And it just worked so well, and that group. And then after that, we did a Pass the Funko Pop challenge, and that was a hit too. And it was one of those moments where we haven't did any sort of collaborations with each other ever since. Yeah. But that group chat is still alive. So like it really shows the true friendship of Pokemon. Like, we talk about stuff outside of Pokemon. That's what Pokemon is supposed to do: create friendships outside of Pokemon. Yes. So from day to day, you guys are still talking about anything. Doesn't really matter. You guys are still connecting as friends, even though you guys live in different parts of the world. Obviously, with COVID, absolutely
not as easy to stay obviously connected in person. So social media is obviously
it's one of those things where it works really well, simply because of the fact that all of us that did that challenge, right, have large followings. Yeah. So like, we understand, like, there's a level of camaraderie there, right? Like, it's not like at that time I probably had because at that time Alex didn't have his Pokemon Instagram account, so I probably had the smallest, or around the second smallest Instagram account out of everyone in that group. Yeah. As far as followings go, as far as TikTok goes, like I didn't hit 2,000 followers on TikTok until August of 2020. Wow. So like, I was on that platform for such a long time. I was grinding it out. Everyone else had 10,000, 20,000. Yeah. Bulbasaur had 100,000. Like, all these people put me to shame, and I'm like, dang. Like, but the fact that Alex and we worked so well with each other, it just worked out beautifully. And so at that time, even though my social media following wasn't that big, my collection did speak for itself at that time still.
And sometimes you don't need that social media presence to kind of show your own growth in your own collection. You don't need to be...
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, between content creators and content creators, there's this thing where, like, often at times, a lot of people like to use you for clout, so to speak. Like, hey, I'm great friends with this person, yada yada this, yada yada that, when the reality is that's not the case, right? Or they'll ask for favors, and often at times, that happens a lot with larger content creators, and there's nothing wrong with how you go about asking. Like, I have friends who have lots and lots of, they have a way smaller following than me. I'm doing this sort of interview with you, and so like, I'm more than happy, to talk to people, and that's not an issue. It's not a clout thing, or an ego thing. It's just the reason why our group just works really well with each other, because like, we have this understanding about content creating and the struggles with it. And being able to grow, and we just have this more developed understanding of the Pokemon community, because we've been around for so long. Yeah. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah, of course. And for the new people coming into this whole Pokemon TikTok stuff, or even trying to do something like what I'm doing or you're doing, or someone else, what advice would you give them coming to this? Like, what do you think the best way to start, or something to inspire them in that sense?
As far as TikTok goes, I'd say just do your own thing. I think that's the most important thing. Like, last night I was doing my podcast with David Lopez, really big guy on Vine. Like, he was one of the very few famous people that made it out of Vine. And he said something last night that is something that I preach all the time. Sometimes doing the most unpopular thing is actually the most popular thing there is. If you can set yourself apart, from everyone else as far as content creating goes, then you're going to prosper. So you might not get the results right away, but you're going to have people who resonate with your work. And if you double down with that, then you can grow exponentially. And so with me, my style of content, like I don't really do the same sort of content all the time. Yeah. Like I like changing things up, whether it's skits or if I'm showing a card, it can be whatever. Like I don't like being confined in one space as far as TikTok goes. Yeah. And so I like being able to showcase that, because at the end of the day, Pokemon is not in my name. It's Notshivam. So like, I'm more of a personality. I don't let these things define me. I let myself define it. And so whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Digimon or Pokemon, I'm more than content with being able to do any of that stuff. So like I'd say starting out, don't really focus on the views. Focus on making content that you truly enjoy. Just have fun with it. Yeah. And if it works out really well, then it works out really well. And the thing is that if you're already on TikTok right now, keep at it. Yeah. Right? There's not gonna, we're in a time where there's not going to be many opportunities after this. Like TikTok is an opportunity where every content creator has the ability to get organic outreach way better compared to YouTube, Instagram, or any other social media platform there is. You're going to get amazing organic outreach on this platform on TikTok compared to any other platform there is. Until another social media platform pops up and there is huge influence behind it and there's so much potential behind it, and that's the next opportunity. But as of right now, this is still a great opportunity. And the thing about Pokemon and TikTok is that TikTok was already blowing up in 2019. Yeah. The Pokemon community as a whole is still not even on TikTok. The core Pokemon community is not even on TikTok still. The major Pokemon creators, they might be on TikTok. You have Nate on there, you have Leonhard on there, you have Ando, you have PokeRev on there, but they're not posting as often. Nate probably posts more often out of all of them, and so as well as Ando, Illicit Leaf. But the majority of the Pokemon content community isn't on that platform. They're not, and the majority of the actual community that absorbs and consumes content isn't even on TikTok yet. Yeah. So it just shows you how early stages a lot of this is. So if you can set yourself apart right now, then it's only going to benefit you. Right? I know people. Smart. I know people who started this year, as far as TikTok goes. I know people who started last year, months and months after I started, who have blown right past me as far as followings go. Yeah. Pokeshot, Unpacked Gems, even Bugcatcher Cards. He has 200,000 followers on TikTok, and I remember a specific time where I had more followers than him. So it just goes to show you, like, everyone has the opportunity to be able to grow, right? You just have to make it your own, right? Yeah. And I think that's the most important message I can possibly give. Like, sure, showing pack openings is great. If you like showing that, hey, go ahead, that's fine. But if you're not getting the views because you keep showing pack openings, then it means that you need to deviate from that and do something different. Yeah, sure, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Do that on your own time. But if you want views, do something that you enjoy. Do something that makes you feel happy as far as content creating goes, and double down on it. Yeah, Alex does pack openings every now and then, but he adds his own flair to it. Pokeshot does the same thing. Unpacked Gems does his own thing. Even Bugcatcher Cards, he does his own thing. They all have their unique way of approaching content. Yeah. And I think that's what's important. The reason why I have gained and garnered a lot of respect from big, like when I say big, I mean big content creators like Rhymestyle, Gary, Nate, a lot of these people, the reason why I'm able to garner their respect is because I've stayed tried and true. That's another thing. Being able to say that I'm the same person that I was 2 years ago when I first came into this hobby speaks volumes, right? Not changing your principles, not changing your values. Really just be about the hobby, right? Just be about that. Like, I know a lot of people, for me personally speaking, a lot of people see that I'm very toxic, and that's not the case. I'm just very blunt. I stick to my own personal beliefs, and if I see people saying one thing and then doing something completely different that they said before, then I'm more than happy to call it out, right? Like, I've been calling people out since I had 1,000 followers. I've been calling people out since I had 2,000 followers. Before even a lot of these people were on TikTok, I was calling a lot of these people out even on Instagram. it's one of those things where it's like people talk about how great the Pokemon community is, and it truly is, and it can be. But I think people there are people who do take advantage of other people. They take advantage of certain situations, and I'm not about that.
Yeah.
So I think I have respect.
What tends to happen is like you post a video or you see a video and you tend to react to it or stitch it or put something on a comment about, let's say someone talks crap about your collection, or you see someone saying, oh, I'm not going to scalp, I ended up buying 10 rows of Shining Fates or 10 rows of Champion's Path. And saying that how TikTok has kind of blown up with the whole Pokemon thing, now you see all these scalpers, you see all these people trying to flip for easy money, and then what do you kind of see with that now, the transition of what's kind of going on in this whole social media Pokemon reselling kind of thing?
I think there's a lot of hype.
Yeah.
And you know, when I first started on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
You know, I just made skits. I made skits. I showed off my collection. That was really it, right? There was no. I was one of the, actually, besides Gary V is the first person to talk about investing in Pokemon cards on TikTok.
I remember that.
He is the first person.
Yes.
I'm one of the very first few people to talk about investing into Pokemon on that platform.
No.
Now, when Pokemon started gaining lots and lots of steam in 2020, I started seeing a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
And and the thing is that a lot of these people who are spreading this misinformation haven't really earned their stripes yet. They're not even, if you look at their Instagram accounts, they're non-existent. You know, like they have sub 200 followers on Instagram or no Instagram account at all.
Yeah.
So it's like, where are you getting this information from? Yeah. And why do you have influence? And why are people buying into this? Yeah, right?
Of course.
And so I saw it as this very, very dangerous thing where people could potentially, impressionable viewers, because TikTok is pretty much young people anyways, I saw this potential possibility of where you have impressionable kids buying into Pokemon, thinking that they were going to make a bunch of money, and then losing money in the process.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want. Yeah. So with the hype, I wanted to counteract the hype.
Yeah.
Like, as in, like, an afterthought. I want to be the afterthought guy as far as everything went. Yeah. A good example is, like, I saw big content creators on TikTok who haven't been around Pokemon as the hobby is currently speaking, who haven't been around for quite some time now, who have very, very little experience when it comes to grading, who have very little experience when it comes to sales, when even high-end cards, they have very, very little experience with it. They were pushing the whole Cinderace Air card. And I'm like, this makes no sense, right? It makes absolutely no sense. So I made a video saying that this is a bunch of baloney.
Yeah.
Or the whole the whole Pokemon Academy boxes that are meant for kids to learn how to.
Huge hype with that whole. They were sold out everywhere. You can never find those things. You realize it has like 3 V cards in just a playset. And I was like, how is this supposed to be like the biggest hyped up product? Which was obviously not. That happens a lot now with a lot of modern stuff.
It happens very, very often. Yeah. And the thing is that the only reason why is simply because of the fact that a lot of these people have something to gain, right? At the end of the day, some influencers are there to sell you something, right? And then you have influencers and content creators who are there to give you something of value, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm not trying to profit off of my audience, right? Yeah. I might talk about PSA. I had a video that has 1.6 million views talking about PSA, and I had a bunch of people commenting about PSA, asking me to be their PSA middleman. I haven't PSA middleman for any new clients since last year. You know, peak Logan Paul hype, I probably had about 500 requested DMs about literally asking to do their PSA submissions, and I did not do a lot of, I didn't do 99% of those people's submissions. Reason being is because I'm not here to profit off of my own community.
Yeah.
I might sell my cards off, but I'm not selling it for crazy value. I'm selling it for a market value.
Yeah, you're trying
to and if it's truly rare, then I'll add a premium to it.
Yeah, you're trying to keep that little bit of a self-respect. Like you said before, you're still trying to be you, still having your collection, still growing from your own person, your own.
Yeah. The whole point of being a content creator, in my personal opinion, is to be able to create value and give value to your audience. Whether it's giving them information, educating them, making them laugh.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. There's other content creators that do that, but there's a other side to it. Eventually, they want to profit off of that, and I'm not like that.
Yeah.
And so, I see people who who have small followings, who have decent followings now, still smaller than mine, but at that time they were in my lives, asking questions, getting advice when it comes to grading, and now those people now have their own grading service, and it's one of those things where it's like, and those same people now, they dislike me, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, they if you were to probably talk to them in private, they'd probably say some terrible things about me. But the thing is that all their information is literally from me. I taught them how to do what they do now, and so it's one of those things where, like, Pokemon has so much hype to it, and I'm going to be that type of person that says that, hey, this is not as easy as what these guys are saying I say it has to be. It takes hours upon research. Like, I spend so much time on eBay. I spend so much time talking to other collectors. I spend so much time down the rabbit hole figuring out why this is truly rare, and why is it rare, and what makes it rare. Is it because of how difficult it is to pull? Is it because it's difficult to acquire in terms of packs? Is it difficult because of its ability to get graded as a high grade? Like, those things are very, very important. And so I'm one of those types of people that tries to educate themselves before educating others. And quite frankly, we're at this point in TikTok where you have people who hype things up, and it's without a reason. Like, they'll say this is amazing, but they won't tell you exactly why. And so that's a big issue I see. I think in the future, I think it'll go away, because like any type of social media, only the people that are creating genuine value for their audience is only going to keep growing. People who try to profit off of their audience, and their audience feels like they're getting screwed over, they're not gonna grow at all.
Yeah, of course. And like, staying with the whole hype as well, like going from that Logan Paul moment when everyone knew, just all of a sudden Pokemon just blew into the stratosphere, and you were there before Logan Paul, and you're also there after Logan Paul, even during Logan Paul's whole Pokemon fiasco. How did you go into that transition? What did you feel like? Oh my! Did you know something was going to happen to the whole Pokemon industry in itself, and how it was going to blow up, or just like, nah?
I actually knew Pokemon was going to blow up in the beginning of quarantine. And the reason why I say that is because, again, I was buying high-end cards for $100, $150, $125, $200, $300. I bought a PSA 9 base set Charizard for $275. I bought a PSA 9 Expedition Charizard holographic for $175.
Wow.
I bought a mint condition raw first edition Blaine's Charizard for $300, but I paid a premium on it because I knew it was going to grade relatively well, and it came back as a PSA 9. I bought a Plasma Storm Charizard card that ended up grading as a PSA 9 OC Pop 2 for $115.
Wow.
The moment quarantine began, the moment lockdowns happened here in the United States in March, all the prices exploded.
Wow.
And the reason why it exploded is not necessarily because of quarantine, because we were already headed towards this direction. The reason why this was happening is because back in 2019, I can go on eBay, I can go to Troll and Toad, I can go to multiple websites and cherry pick which near mint condition cards were on there. Like, when someone said near mint back then, it truly meant near mint, not lightly played, not PSA 10 question mark, and there was a bunch of lightning on the cards. It truly meant that it was near mint. And so, the thing is that at that time, that supply of cards on the internet was shrinking. On eBay, on Troll and Toad, they were shrinking. Right? Packs weren't being open, but the cards still remained on eBay. Now, at that time, PSA 9s and PSA 8s and PSA 7s were extremely undervalued at that time as well. And so that overall card market, is even PSA 10s, that got absorbed. Right? And it was getting down to the point where things were dwindling. So before quarantine even began, in March, like a few weeks before I was about to buy my snap machine right here, I was giving it about 13 more weeks before things were going to pop off. And the reason why is because we were headed towards this point where there was just no supply of affordable Pokemon cards, high-end cards that is, on eBay, whether it was graded or not graded.
Yeah.
And once quarantine happened, a lot of people had more time on their hands. A lot of people had more money on their hands because they weren't traveling. And so that exacerbated everything. It was a catalyst.
Yeah.
And so that got blown up. You know, you're talking about $1,000 PSA 10. Like PSA 10 high-end cards were going for $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Once quarantine began, everything multiplied. Everything multiplied. So I was like, right from the jump, I was like, this is gonna get bad.
So you don't feel like Logan Paul had some sort of impact, or do you
No, absolutely not. People who say that Logan Paul is the reason why the Pokemon community has become so toxic, as well as become so difficult to be able to acquire a Pokemon product, that's not true. And I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But essentially, we were facing the shrinking supply.
Yeah.
And so once quarantine began, that catalyzed everything, and prices went up. In the meantime, in 2019, sports cards were already on the come up.
Yeah.
Sports cards were already being scalped. In the sports card community, scalping is a very, very, very
known factor.
It's a very normal thing.
Yes.
It's very normal.
Yes.
And so I was like, once that happened, and we started hitting quarantine, I started seeing signs of prices spiking. I was like, this is going to get just as bad as sports cards. I called it. Like, it's probably somewhere on my Discord.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happened. It spiked, you know? Mm-hmm. And the reason why I called that was because of the fact that anytime you have affordable cards, like the high-end cards that were there at that time, spike tremendously in value. At that point, when you have rich people or influencers, when they start seeing that, they start thinking, these cards are now worth my time.
I see.
So then they start dabbling in it. Yeah. And then that's when they buy in. That's when they invest into things. Yeah. And at that point, you know, more and more exposure comes along with these celebrities that are coming into the hobby. Yeah. And so you have increased demand when it comes to Pokemon.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just like this perfect storm of stuff. Like even with PSA, like the reason why PSA is backed up is not because of Pokemon, it's because of sports cards. Oh. But the modern market is backed and is stable right now just because of how bad it's backed up at PSA. Otherwise, like, if everything came out all at once, you know, things would completely collapse because everyone would be trying to undercut each other as far as modern cards go. Yeah. But yeah, I called this stuff out very, very early on, and I knew we were headed towards this direction.
Yeah. And even with, like, as you said right now, those big influencers, even the people out of the whole Pokemon game, just coming into it and trying to grab a little bit of momentum coming off of Pokemon. Like Steve Aoki, he has nothing to do with Pokemon, comes in, does a box break with Logan Paul, does a box break over here. And even like Collectibles Guru, he wasn't someone known back then, now took the train and started kind of riding it a bit to grow his channel, grow the industry, grow his own sort of stuff. So what do you think about, what do you feel towards that sense? People taking their high-end profiles, coming to the whole Pokemon game and kind of not ruin it for others, but kind of, you know, turning the tables a little bit on either their side or on the industry itself.
So I'm gonna tackle this in the most blunt way possible. For a lot of the people that are complaining about, you know, not being able to afford high-end cards anymore, and this is strictly about high-end cards. Yeah. Where were they
before?
4 months ago? Where were they a year ago? Where were they 2 years ago? Where were they 3 years ago? Yeah. And I know that's a bad thing to say, but it's true, right? Yeah. You can go back in 2020, and PokeRev is doing his box break of first edition Shadowless, right? Yeah. At that time, I believe packs were selling for, I want to say it was quite a decent amount, but it wasn't a crazy amount. But at that time, there was an uproar between the core Pokemon community saying that this is too much. This is more than what they're going for on eBay. Yeah. But when you look at the prices today on first edition Shadowless Charizard cards,
game over. Yeah.
Or the packs themselves, or the box itself, people want to go back to that time and be able to buy in. Yeah. And so, like, people are just going to complain about not being able to buy Pokemon even when it's still horrible. It's like this, right? If you go back to that time, right? Yeah. And I said that this box, and many others even believe that this box is a potentially $1 million box. If you have firm conviction about it, and you saw the prices of it, let's say the prices were, let's say the price at that time was $1,000 a pack,
Yeah.
right? Or $1,200 a pack.
Yeah.
If I told you that this pack is now going to be worth $20,000 or $30,000 or even more or $40,000, would you buy into it?
Of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone, if you had the money, you would buy into it.
100%.
So, like, it's one of those things where people think that influencers are the worst reason as to why Pokemon is being ruined for the average collector. If that was the case, right? Logan Paul did a second box break a few months ago, in February.
Yeah.
Now, myself, Pokenomics, and Pokemon Radar, we called this in our clubhouse a week beforehand. We all three of us believed that the second box break was going to have zero adverse effect on the Pokemon market. We thought that nothing was going to blow up.
Yeah.
And guess what?
You were right.
Nothing did.
Yeah.
Nothing did. So if Logan Paul created so much hype, if Logan Paul is truly the reason as to why Pokemon is so overhyped, why we should be still continuing on that path of growth, not retracing.
Yeah.
You know, like that box break did nothing as far as prices go.
Yeah.
The secondary box break.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of influencers that are coming into this space, but people also forget that a lot of these influencers are within that range where they grew up with Pokemon.
Yeah.
Before this fame, before the money, before any of this, they all had a tie with Pokemon. And people think that's crazy, but it's not. You go back to stores back in 1999 and 2000, Pokemon was on everything. Food, plates, clothes, toys, cards, at school. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And so these people, when they grow up and they say, oh, wow, Pokemon, and they want to buy back in, and then all of a sudden the core community has a backlash over, or they have issues with it because they see a famous person coming into their hobby, then that's also what's wrong. I don't like gatekeeping, and so that's my whole stance on it. I think I welcome everyone that's a part of the hobby, as long as they're not breaking any laws or doing something unethical, or they're treating people perfectly fine. Then hey, go ahead, do your own thing. Like as long as you're not breaking any laws, as long as you're conducting things ethically, then by all means, be a part of the hobby.
Yeah, even so you said, like, Pokemon's to bring people together. It's a friendship. You're trying to grow bonds together.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are people out there that gatekeep because they believe that Pokemon is their own thing, right? But people also forget that Pokemon is the #1 franchise in the world.
Yeah.
It's the highest grossing media franchise in the world, and so, like, it's not a secret.
No, of course it's not. And that's what the whole craze is now. Like, everyone sees some people still do this. They see the hype. Oh, I remember I had my own Pokemon cards. Pulls out the binder, starts looking through stuff. Oh, I want to get back into it. You see, it has the downside of people want to buy more and to get more money, but it's also bringing in the old people who used to collect and just starting to love it again for themselves. Not even to sell or anything, just remembering that feeling as a kid, going to the store with their dad or mom or whoever and buying those cards, and now they can do that again. It's not as ridiculous as a couple of years ago or whatever it was.
Yes and no. So, like, you go back to 1999 when Pokemon first came out. It was hard to get Pokemon off the shelves. Excuse me. It was hard to get Pokemon off the shelves. And today, right now, it's hard to get Pokemon off the shelves. The only difference is that, excuse me again, back then, is that the shelf space that's dedicated to Pokemon was a lot smaller than what it is today. Like, you have an entire aisle dedicated to Pokemon. And so, it's the same thing. The demand is there. The demand was there like it is today. I think the issue is it's just more so people are just going to be upset. People think that there's only really one way to get Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
That's just by going to the store and buying your retail Pokemon product. And I'm more of an advocate of being able to go to your local card shop and buying Pokemon cards there. Yeah. Like, people miss out on so much. Like, if I'm 30 years old, why am I going to be hyped over a set that just came out right now? Yeah. And then when I could buy a card from 1999, something that means something to me from my childhood, right? Yeah. Like, we all have this understanding that this stuff is massively produced. Even before the hype, this stuff is massively produced. Yeah. If I can still get base set hollows 21 years after initial release, then I should be able to get a lot of these modern Pokemon cards 40 years from now, considering how heavily printed this stuff is.
Yeah, of course. That's what some people don't realize. They buy X amount, and it's like they're all stuck with all these cards, and then just that one card, basically. And I remember watching a lot of your videos for people who don't, because I usually have to buy products, content. I do YouTube, I do TikTok, I do Instagram, so I have to buy certain stuff to do what I need to do. And you get other people just opening to get that one Zard or that one Pikachu or whatever.
Yeah, like they're opening it just to open. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And then you get those people who just want that one card and they want to make money and this and that. So on that,
and that's fine too. Yeah. But like at that point, you have to be able to understand what you're doing at that point. If you're chasing one card, then let's call it what it is. If you're chasing one card, that's gambling. If your whole motive is to be able to chase a card and sell it, that's gambling, right? If your whole card is to chase one card and you want to add it to your collection, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Is that gambling? Not really, because you're wanting to be able to pull that one pack, and you're wanting to be able to. I mean, you want to be able to get that one pack that has your one favorite card in there. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Everyone has a different means to collecting. It's just that, like, I think people really need to be more honest with themselves and take a good hard look at what they're doing. Whether it's scalping unethically, whether it's opening packs. Like, everyone could complain about opening packs, but why aren't they going to the store? Why aren't they going to a local card shop and buying the same cards that are in those packs, right? The difference is, like, let's say I had a booster pack, right? Yeah. Booster packs have what, 11 cards?
Yeah. 10 to 11 cards, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say I give you a booster pack at 11 cards, and I give you 11 cards that's outside the pack, right? Yeah. If the 11 cards that are outside the pack are the same cards that are in this booster pack, what's the difference?
Good point.
The difference is that you're gonna have to open one, whereas the other one is already here.
Yeah.
So if I'm a collector, right, I shouldn't really complain about not being able to buy Pokemon Modern packs. Like, so many people have so much bulk as far as this goes.
Yeah, trust me.
You can save so much more money just by buying the singles that you want, right? Wait for, like, you want to know why a lot of these high-end cards from modern sets immediately drop in value upon release? It's because so many people will open up Pokemon product and they'll go in the red to be able to pull that card, and then just be able to offset that cost, they will sell that card, right? Yeah. And so what happens is that immediately that card goes down in value because everyone else is trying to open the card and then they find it and they sell it. The wise decision is being able to buy the card when it bottoms out. Mm-hmm. And so, like, not many people even do that. It would cost you a lot less just to be able to buy that card at the most lowest rate possible, as well as whatever commons, uncommons, whatever you need to complete your binder. Like, people just don't really understand that. And so, like, I get the whole opening thing, like, that part is nostalgic, but I call that waning happiness. I call that waning happiness. Being able to open up a pack, opening up packs is waning happiness. Yeah. I'm not going to tell people how to collect.
Everyone has their own way.
They can do whatever they want, but, like, we all have to accept the cold hard truths as far as this goes. Like, there's a harsh reality when it comes to all this stuff.
Yeah, and with you, have you opened any, like, newer stuff? I know you were talking about your recent.
Yeah, I have before. So in the fall of last year, when Champions Path came out, I opened up exactly 44 packs of Champions Path. Before that, I opened up 2 booster boxes of Yu-Gi-Oh! So Toon Chaos and Battles of Legend Armageddon.
Nice.
And then before that was Hidden Fates. Mm-hmm. And I opened that as well. But besides that, no. The only reason why I opened up Hidden Fates is just because it's a set that I have fun with. Outside of value, it's a set that I truly have fun with.
Now, with Hidden Fates, now you saw the whole rise of Shining Fates. That was massively, like, hyped up, going out of control. I think worse than Champions Path. It was kind of as bad as XY Evolutions, but how the comparison of Hidden Fates and Shining Fates, where do you kind of, like, scale them together?
I haven't opened up any Shining Fates, but I see the appeal, I see the allure. You know, at the end of the day, it's still a set that has multiple pools. I think Hidden Fates really hit the nail on the head simply because of the fact that you have shiny Pokemon from every generation.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, this set only has one generation in Charizard. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. You know, I definitely see all the cards that are in this set, and I think it's definitely beautiful. I could see it as a set for, like, kids who had just gotten to Sword and Shield and played the game, and that's their only, you know, sort of exposure to Pokemon. It's like that set in itself could be an amazing set. You know, that could be like the base set for them. I really have no issues with it. You know, when we compare sets, I think everything is subjective.
Yeah, of course.
Based on fun. I think, you know, for me, Hidden Fates was fun. For me, you know, Team Up was fun. For me, you know, so there's a lot of sets that were fun, you know.
Yeah.
and that's just my personal opinion. Someone else might say like this is a craft set, and that's fine.
It's different, yeah. And going into the modern products now, like, do you feel like there's a good one to stay on to? Like, is there a favorite one for you? I know obviously you said Hidden Fates.
My favorite modern set has to be. I haven't opened up any Shining Fates, but I can see the fun in it. You know, when I had clients send me their Shining Charizard VMAX, and I saw, I was like, that's a beautiful card. That's a card I would chase after. You know.
Yeah. Have you bought it single yet? That card or not yet?
No. I don't plan on buying any modern cards anytime soon. I'm more focused on buying vintage. I see a huge retrace in the values of modern cards right now. And it will happen. So I'm just waiting. I'd much rather spend pennies on a dollar for high-end cards from the modern era.
Yeah.
But I'd say definitely Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates was a very, very fun set. That's like cool. Tried and true, very fun set. Like who cares? Like value aside, fun set. I never really opened up Shining Legends, but I can definitely see that being a fun set to do.
I haven't either. I wish I could find that. Can't find them anywhere.
Team Up was a fun set. I do like the tag teams in Pokemon. That was a really interesting concept. I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but it sort of is a gimmick. But I loved it. I love the alternative arts. I like the alternate arts as far as those go, like the Latios, making a little heart. I like seeing the Celebi and Venusaur alternate arts. Like those cards are super artistic. I think they're beyond gorgeous and beautiful. I think they have their place in Pokemon history.
Nice. Yeah, I love those cards, and they have their own. I think that's what Pokemon had to do. They had to kind of change the game. If their games, like every game has to be a little bit different to kind of appeal to the audiences, right? It's the same old stick and this and that. Even like back in the day, we had Jungle, we had Base Out 2, Base Out 1, Shadowless, this, that. So it's kind of the modern spin on that stuff. And like, you see all these people now kind of buying bulk of XY Evolution, Cosmic Eclipse, Shining Fates, and they're holding it. They're just putting in cases, booster boxes in cases, and like, do you think that's gonna go anywhere? Do you think it's smart to keep it? Do you think it's
So if you're just keeping it, just to keep it. If you're just a collector, that's fine, cool. I see a big issue in terms of an investment simply because of the fact that the reason why vintage is so valuable is because people opened it.
Yeah.
That's why it's valuable, because that stuff created this sort of scarcity as far as that goes. Like I know one guy in Loot Box's Discord that had at one moment had 17 boxes of ETB. Like I mean, not ETB. He had 17 booster boxes of XY Evolutions. Wow. So, like, if everyone and their aunt and uncle keeps XY Evolutions or a very, very popular Pokemon set sealed away for the sole purpose of investing, then nothing's going to happen in terms of sheer value. That stuff has to be open. It has to be absorbed by the market. It has to not exist for it to actually create value. Yeah. And so, the thing is that let's say, by demand, for all these people that are holding on to these boxes, by demand, let's say Evolutions hits a crazy value point, right?
Yeah.
It would trigger a sell-off, and that the value of it would go completely down. Like, there's just way too many of it. It's the most printed set of all time.
Yeah. Did you like XY Evolutions when it first came out, or even now?
Yeah. So, like, when I first got back into the hobby, I was sort of dipping my toes. This was like right before Detective Pikachu came out. I was buying myself like, a few blister packs of XY Evolutions because that was something I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
For a lot of newer people that are coming back into the hobby, but came from the era of the 90s, they tend to gravitate towards XY Evolutions because they're trying to get this sort of feel for it.
Yeah.
I bought a few packs here and there, got literally nothing. And I was buying Detective Pikachu stuff as well. The promos, the tins. I thought that was very fun. I had a good time with it, and so, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it has to be opened up. It has to be absorbed by the actual market itself for it to actually have any sort of value and scarcity. But that's not going to happen anytime soon.
And what I noticed a lot, especially when Logan Paul was in that business, he would open up the Shadowless or the base set, and XY is kind of like, not the rip-off of it, but like reprint of the old sets. And you can
it's a reprint of a reprint of a reprint.
And I like that analogy. And do you think there was a whole... Again, we talked about that as well. Did you think XY really took a big spike as you saw? It was kind of flatlining and then kind of rose. Do you think or do you think it's just what you said before is just because of the whole what Pokemon was?
That sort of trend was happening way before then. You know, as Pokemon said that this is no longer going to be reprinted, you saw spikes in prices. You know, and then you have like Rev, who was you know, kind of breaking down like the costs of the cards, like as far as making money off of a booster box. XY Evolutions is one of those booster boxes that can net you a significant amount of profit. Yeah. Just because it has a lot of Charizards in the box. Yeah. And that's just the reality of it. We were just headed towards that point regardless.
Yeah, makes sense. And do you like that Charizard though from XY?
Have you? You're talking about the number 11 and the reverse,
the hollow and the reverse.
I used to, but being a PSA middleman and seeing like I kid you not, it is like wow. I kid you not, seeing that stamp, the XY Evolution stamp just irks me. Like, really? I kid you not, it's one of the it's the set of cards that I've seen the most often of in terms of grading, and it just sort of gets old at that point.
Wow, so it's kind of like a revolving door of Charizards, basically. And so,
absolutely.
Wow, and even with your grading hustle, is that Charizard's the most likely card you see almost every time from any set? Charizard. Is that like kind of the card you see from people sending you?
As far as like one of the most cards I've ever received, yes.
Oh wow, that's yeah. You know, everyone loves Charizard. Do you think? I remember you even commented on my thing. I asked you, where do you think is ranked underneath Charizard? What do you think is underrated? You said Lugia. Do you still stand by that? Do you think Lugia is kind of underrated?
There's a lot of. I don't think there's underrated. Like, everyone has an underrated Pokemon. When we talk about cards, there's definitely a lot of underrated cards out there. Absolutely, yeah, of course.
Or even to chase after, like everyone's always chasing after a Charizard. Is there a card you think people are kind of underlooking?
Personally speaking, I see a lot of people today, right? A lot of people say Charizard's overrated, right?
Yeah.
A lot of card collectors too. A lot of card collectors say Charizard's overrated.
Yeah.
Then why is it that every single time there's a Charizard in a set, right, and they open a pack and a Charizard's in that set, they freak out?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They might not like Charizard, but they always freak out when they get one.
Yeah.
But when they get their favorite Pokemon, do you get that same sort of reaction?
That's a fair point. Yeah.
So the thing is that I don't see a you know, underrated you know, Pokemon out there. Like it's always been Charizard, it's always been Pikachu, it's always been any sort of Mew or Mewtwo, it's always been Lugia, it's always been Rayquaza. Like those are, or any sort of shining Pokemon. Like those are those are Pokemon that hold that can hold their weight.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon, by the way? I never asked that. Do you have? Or
my favorite Pokemon is Charizard. It's a tie between Charizard and Lugia.
Nice, and I'm guessing you have like a nice set of Lugia cards, and a nice set of Charizard cards.
Yeah. I have a decent Charizard collection. I have a decent Lugia collection. Yeah.
Nice. And so going into the whole now, have you noticed McDonald's in Canada just got that with the whole McDonald's 25th anniversary stuff? Did you kind of go into those? Did you see those sets? How did you think of that, and really the hype around that?
I didn't bother with it. Reason being is like it's not worth my time. You know, they're beautiful cards, don't get me wrong, but it's just not worth my time at that point. You know, I see, you know, if one of the things is that, you know, I know that there's kids struggling to collect. Yeah. So why am I being part of the problem?
Yeah.
When I'm trying to buy that stuff too. Yeah. Like I'd much rather buy something that means something more to me and let that kid be able to get something that really means something to them, right? It's the same thing when you go to retail locations. Like I skip over, you know, the card aisle because, you know, there's going to be a kid that wants something. Yeah, the same thing applies to the McDonald's stuff. Yeah. I'd much rather buy 2002 Japanese exclusive art of the McDonald's set that only came out in Japan, because those are the only valuable McDonald's Pokemon cards that exist.
Yeah, it's tough, and it gets so sad to the point of where people going to McDonald's, buying the packs in like boxes, or have someone on the inside and like kind of like shifting them underneath their sweater or something. That's what Pokemon sadly in a way become. That's
what it is now. Yeah, like the thing is that greed exists everywhere.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Yeah, it's human nature, and that's a sad thing. And do you feel like grading that Pikachu, obviously the 25th anniversary holo, do you think it's going to be anything of... do you think it's going to pass the time of what it was, obviously?
No.
No, it's going to be nothing. Do you feel like it's not going to go into that long-term process?
So, like, me personally speaking, I'm kind of skeptical on a lot of different stuff. I'm not bullish on everything. There's certain things that I am bullish. You know, back in 2019, I was bullish on a lot. I was bullish on Pokemon a lot. Right now, I'm bearish. Does that mean I'm selling off my stuff? No. So, like, what I mean by that is the reason why I don't see that retaining value or accruing value is because a ton of it is printed. Yeah. Like, think about it this way. First, like, there is still base set Charizard base set booster boxes being open to this day. Like, when people say base set unlimited, it is truly unlimited. There is a lot of them. There's a lot of base set Charizards out there. Mm-hmm. So, knowing how popular Pokemon was back then, and knowing how Pokemon is even more popular now, dude, it scares me. It scares me to know what the population of these cards are going to be from these modern sets in the next 30 years.
Yeah. And even like coming into the new product coming out, Chilling Reigns. I don't know if you saw that one, the new set, TCG set. I don't know if you've even taken a look at some of the cards. There's some nice artwork.
The artwork is amazing.
Yeah, and do you feel like it's going to be another overhyped set? Do you feel like that's going to...
No, I think the hype for every set is properly placed, right? I think the hype is there for the correct reason.
Yeah. I mean,
do I think we're going to face the same issues? Maybe, maybe not. I think we're starting to see this sort of trend where, you know, we're not having as many scalpers in the Pokemon hobby anymore.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. I even would like go to my Walmart. You see people kind of lined up already, either on the outside of Walmart or on the aisles, and it's like I just got here. There's already like 10 people ahead of me, and it's like that's a sad thing of what Pokemon's kind of become.
Yeah, I mean, like that. See, the thing is that scalping is a temporary issue. Yeah. It's not here to last.
Yeah, and for the people, even for the kids, like who are struggling to find something in Walmart, what alternative do you think could be a way for them to?
Honestly, I know one Pokemon TikToker who is pretty young. His name is Pokezoo. He has no issues with collecting. Mm-hmm. His collection literally whoops a lot of even adults that are coming into the hobbies pants off. I know another kid, he's been in the Pokemon hobby a lot longer than me, like a lot longer than me. He's considered an OG, and his collection literally blows off majority of people that I know as far as collecting goes. Like majority, in terms of sheer value too. Wow. Like he was able to buy his own Acura by doing Pokemon sales. Like he's a young kid, and the thing is that we go back to 1999, right? We didn't care about value as far as cards go. We did not care about value. Yeah. We found enjoyment not only in the cards. We found enjoyment in the cartoons. We found enjoyment talking to our friends about Pokemon. We found enjoyment going to card shops and being part of a community. We found enjoyment getting the books and just playing the video games too. Like the list goes on and on and on and on. So like when I see a lot of people today like saying, "Oh, what about the kids?" The kids they're going to be able to collect. That's fine. Yes, this is one they're going to be able to enjoy Pokemon. Is this one avenue where they're not going to be able to enjoy Pokemon for a time being? Yeah, absolutely. But that's not going to go away. They can go to card shops. They can still buy the cards as singles.
That's true.
It's there. They're like there's no excuse, honestly.
Yeah, and besides like the whole like product of you collecting, do you watch the anime? Do you play the games? I know obviously.
Yeah. So I played the games. Yeah. I played all the mainline games, all the way up to Diamond and Pearl. I stopped at Black and White and X and Y, and I didn't play anything else after that. As far as I even played Pokemon Coliseum, so like not mainline games. I also played that. I played Puzzle League. I played Pokemon Pinball as well.
I love pinball.
As far as the anime goes, I think I watched everything up to the end of the Hoenn region. I forgot what that series was called, but I watched everything up to the
I think that was Battle Frontier.
Battle Frontiers. That's what it is. Yeah. I watched that as well. And that's really it. I mean, I watched the Johto League as well, and that was great. I liked that the most. But I watched the anime. Played the video games, collected the cards, and that's really it.
Oh. And do you have currently a card?
And toys. Yeah, I got toys. I got Pokemon food too back then too.
Do you have kind of an item or a product you're kind of searching for right now, even a card, or is there something that you're kind of chasing after, kind of looking as like a might want to like go after?
Yeah. So like as far as items go, I'm about to buy it. It's a 2000 Lugia Deluxe figure. It's going to cost me about $2,700. It's still in the box.
Wow.
It's a pretty rare. Sorry about that. My battery's about to die.
It's okay.
It's a pretty rare piece, and it's something that I haven't seen on eBay yet. I see loose ones, but I have a guy who found them for me who's sourcing one out.
Jeez.
As far as cards go, I'm in no particular rush as far as Pokemon cards go. So like that's another thing. Like patience is key.
Yeah.
If you love Pokemon and you see yourself involved with the Pokemon community and the hobby for years to come, then you have nothing but time and patience. Like there's no excuse as to why you have to FOMO and freak out on being able to get the most newest Pokemon product. But as far as cards go, I've been slowly like getting back into it because it is a buyer's market right now, and I'm thinking about potentially in the future maybe I want to get back into Gold Stars. I used to have a PSA 8 Gold Star Charizard.
Wow.
And I still miss it. All the cards I traded for my first edition Shadowless Charizard card, I miss. So
do you regret that?
That's a future project.
Do you regret that trade or not?
No, I don't. And if I were to have any sort of level of buyer's remorse, there are tons and tons of collectors out there that would trade a lot of their collections for a high grade first edition Shadowless Charizard card.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would beg on my knees for that card.
I've had people offer crazy cards, and I had to turn it down.
Yeah, you're probably not going to sell that card for any time soon, most likely.
No, if anything, I'll probably trade it for a PSA 9.
Wow, that's smart.
So I'll upgrade. I'll upgrade. I won't sell, but I will upgrade.
Yeah, and even speaking about grading, like you see, there's so many grading companies: Mint, CGC, BGS, PSA. Where do you feel like people are kind of like? Do you have any other PSA? Like, I know you have Beckett, you have some CGC cards. Do you do Mint?
No, I only have PSA and Beckett.
Oh, you don't have those two. Do you feel like those other ones are kind of worth to get Pokemon cards graded, or do you feel like you just stick to?
I think CGC right now is kind of proving themselves. I'm seeing more consistency in their grading. I think the way they grade and scan cards is great. When PSA starts implementing Geniment, the AI into their system as far as getting cards graded, then I think it's going to be a huge competitor against CGC because CGC is sort of using kind of like the same sort of tech, but not really. It is what it is. I would only go with those three. If HGA, as far as aesthetic purposes only, HGA would be at my very top list because the cases are beautiful. Yeah. And then BGS as a secondary. But as of right now, I'm not even focused on getting my cards graded.
Do you guys have Mint in the States?
No, we don't.
You don't use Mint, okay.
No, the standard has always been Pokemon. Like Gary and Eddie were the two people that started that sort of standard for PSA.
That's amazing. And that must be like probably a lot of work to even get your cards graded or other people's cards grading. Like that's probably.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Damn, could imagine. And besides like your whole Pokemon, we see your Digimon collection. We just saw your Rapidmon. That was a beautiful card, by the way. Yeah. Really, really great card. Do you collect any other stuff besides Pokemon and Digimon and all that stuff?
I collect Yu-Gi-Oh. I collect.
Yeah, you had some cards for sale too. I saw on your Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Nice cards.
I collect. What else do I collect? I have some Star Wars figures. I have some Game of Thrones stuff. Basically, like I focus on one thing at a time. So as of right now, I've been focusing on Digimon for the most part.
Yeah.
Just because I see tremendous interest in that sort of market.
Yeah.
In the future. Granted, like even though I'm saying it in terms of an investment standpoint, I'm trying to get ahead of the curve so that way I'm able to get all the cards that I want. I'm not going to sell these cards, but I want to be able to get ahead of the curve before I miss out.
So you feel like Digimon's kind of an underrated type of feel?
Oh, absolutely.
It was always everyone always thought Digimon was a Pokemon ripoff.
This is how I see things, right? We're back in 1989, a lot of people, even kids, were making the comparison between Pokemon and Digimon. Yeah. People said that Digimon is a knockoff of Pokemon. Personally speaking, it's not. You go to Japan, right? Japan has been so strong with Digimon, it's not even funny. Like, the cards that we're receiving here, they have cards that were released last year called Battle Spirit from Digimon that were never released here. Yeah. It's just, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Yeah. It's, the thing is like, what I see is Japanese culture is becoming more and more infused with American culture with with more and more people liking anime and all the going to cons and stuff like that. People are becoming more and more accustomed to the Japanese culture, and I think eventually we're going to see Digimon do just as well. And the reason why is because the way Bandai is producing Dragon Ball Super cards and the values for those are skyrocketing, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And do you like the Japanese, like Pokemon in the English and the Japanese have two different cards?
So it depends. If I'm buying Japanese Pokemon cards, it's just sheer rarity. It has to be based on complete rarity alone.
Yeah.
If it's Digimon, again, sheer rarity alone. But as of right now, American, English Digimon cards are the only valuable ones that are out there.
That's pretty cool. And I remember watching your video about Digimon. I remember as a kid I collected a lot of Digimon cards. I actually found I wish I had them on me right now, but I had Lilymon, and I was like ecstatic. I was like, I can't believe I actually had some of my old Digimon cards. It's like, is that old feeling as a kid? It's like, oh my god, I wish I collected more.
Digimon, as far as allocation, as far as like a lot of the rare stuff goes, like from Digibattle Series 3 through 6, it's all in Canada.
Yeah, I love the anime too. The show, I don't know why I love Digimon anime a lot. Not a lot more than Pokemon. It kind of held value, kind of dipped down the anime later on. So a little bit of Pokemon did too, but
honestly, I like Digimon as anime more than I do with Pokemon as the anime.
Yeah, it's really more hardcore, not hardcore, but it really takes you to heart. And Pokemon has a little bit of a childish intake on that, but Digimon kind of takes itself a little bit more serious, and kind of has a thing. But that's
do you have any more questions?
Sorry.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, sorry. Kind of went off track.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I just wanted to know where we're at.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Your Poke Tea Time, you do a podcast with Pikachu and all those. How's that going? How's that whole experience?
So I started so basically back in 2020, like early on, I was seeing, Real Breaking 8 and Jordan French do their Shadowless podcast. I'm like, man, I want to do a podcast. Like, this is so underrated. And their podcast is still, I think, very much underrated. Their podcast is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know their numbers, but I talk to Jordan almost multiple times on the phone throughout the week, and I mean they're crushing it. I love their podcast so much. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was watching Pokemon Radar do the same thing as far as his podcast goes, and I was like, you know what? I think podcast is the next biggest thing as far as content goes outside of TikTok.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Yizzy, and Yizzy was relatively new in the content creating game, but he knew more about production than I did. I know nothing about producing a video on YouTube. I know how to produce TikToks. I know how to make Instagram. I know how to grow social media platforms, but I can't do YouTube. That's my crux.
Yeah.
And so with Yizzy, we came, I asked him in the middle of the summer, like, hey, let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
And this was actually it wasn't the summer. It was like spring of 2020. That's how early it was. Like probably January, February. And he kind of passed it off, and then he came back to me back in November. He's like, dude, let's do this. Let's start the podcast. I said, okay, let's do it. And it was based upon the ideas that we had earlier that year. And it's been an interesting journey. We started off producing the videos, the podcast on his channel, and within like a month or two, we got a sponsorship without even being on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So like that was such a big thing for us. And we were through my connections with a lot of my friends. That's one thing. If you ever want to be able to get in touch with a lot of these bigger people in the Pokemon community, it's about creating value for them. Before you can ask something, you need to provide. And then, when you sort of establish this sort of actual relationship, then you can ask them, right? Yeah. But you have to go at it in terms of not in the way you're gonna, it's like a long con or you're just using, it has to come from a genuine place, right? And so like I developed really good friendships with Pikachu. I developed really good friendships with, Lootbox TV, Real Breaking 8, Jordan Fringe, all those people that you see on the podcast. I spoke to them months on end before actually like asking them to be part of the podcast.
Yeah, you grow a friendship before you obviously ask for
absolutely. So like having David Lopez, guy who has 1 million followers on Instagram, that's crazy. Like he reached out to me on TikTok. We hit it off so well on Instagram. I helped out as much as possible. The same thing with a lot of these blue check verified people. It all works the same. Like even having Jarvis Johnson on the podcast was a crazy thing for us. but it's just because like myself and Yiza, we provide value to these people. Like we give ourselves and we give our best opinions, we give our best piece of advice when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So it's going good. We moved to our new YouTube channel. To a YouTube channel of its own for just the podcast itself, and that's growing. It's growing.
Nice, and congratulations, obviously, for the whole. You've developed yourself really, really well on your own, and honestly,
thank you.
Doing this really does also mean a lot to me because I have almost 10,000. You're almost 50,000 on TikTok. Your social media is massively huge. You have the best connections I possibly know, and your collection is just out of this world. And I have one last question. It's a fan question. This is from, I think it was Leftover Salmon. His question is, if you could have any Pokemon related toy, vintage or new, what would it be? He says, I know he has a lot of the older plushies like the Shiny Zard and Scyther. And he also says he watches your friend Adam on Twitch. He plays a lot of his Pokemon games. So questions all too.
So I don't own any plushies actually. I just own figures, action figures. But I want to say it's not really one, but my major goal is to be able to complete the entire Shining Combat figure line. I want to have all 10 sealed. Wow. As of right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Shiny Combat figures out of the 10. Yeah. I have duplicates of the Spinarak and the Blastoise. Yeah. But yeah, that's a goal of mine. As far as Pokemon toys go, that's a tough one.
So I know you said you were doing that Lugia soon.
Yeah, that was another big thing that I wanted that I'm now on the verge of getting. I'd say some of like the Lottery Tomy figures. Those are very, very rare. They're a Japanese based product, but as far as the English side goes, as far as the English side of Pokemon toy collecting, I'd say the more modern side would probably have to be the gold Pikachu from when Jazzwares acquired its licensing from Jakks Pacific to be able to produce Pokemon toys. And so Jeremy Padower, who's a good friend of mine, was the co-founder of Jazzwares, and they only made 25 of those gold Pikachus. Wow. He has 2 of them, and that's a goal of mine to have at some point as well.
That's an incredible goal to kind of go for, and that's a big, obviously, stake for in that sense. And I hope.
I think it's important to like speak stuff into existence. I think it's important to just be patient with what you're going after. Yeah.
So before we end it off, do you have any advice you'd give up to anyone going into the business now, or Pokemon collectors now, or anyone going into just becoming a social media person, or anything out of anything? The last final word as well.
I'd say my best piece of advice is just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Be like and display that, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's okay to do trends. It's cool. Like I do trends on TikTok all the time, but like you just like set yourself apart. Yeah. And the only way you can set yourself apart is by doubling down on who you are, right?
Of course.
Like a lot of people say, like, I don't know how to make something or where to start. Just record.
Yeah.
Literally force yourself. Open up something that's forcing you to record on something and literally record yourself. Yeah. Take inspiration from other people or see other people's collections and make it your own. If you see something you like, then get it, right?
Yeah,
not because it's expensive, but because of the fact that you genuinely like it. And then, value and stuff that comes later on. Yeah, that's secondary.
Awesome. And honestly, thank you so much for your time. It really does
no problem.
Honestly mean a lot to me. I hope to one day be as not popular, but have that extremity of your Pokemon collection, your Pokemon cards.
You will. The thing is that you just have to stick out. You just have to stick with it. Like grinding is the only way you can get things. Like people say things are too expensive. Again, if you play things smart, you're going to get what you want.
Yeah, and of course, thank you. Honestly, thank you so much. Really does honestly mean a lot to me, and we know everyone loves your videos. And thank you for coming out. Thank you for having this interview, and hope to see you next on your Poke Tea Time, and as well more YouTube for you, your Instagram, and your TikTok. And honestly,
thank you so much.
Thank you again. Have a great night. Okay.
You too, man.
Bye.
And I don't love you, and I don't love you, and I don't love